Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. You're spending your morning with the Sports Judge. This story, I can't think of another story this wild and unsettling at the start of the season than this one. And I know I keep drilling on it, but it's one of those stories that I'm bothered by. I need more information. I want to know what the hell really happened. What went down with this story? This is a story making waves throughout the sports world. You have mainstream media people who don't know anything about baseball, who don't really have vast knowledge about the game and who don't really talk about baseball at all, and they're talking about this. It took something like this to get everyone to talk about baseball, and unfortunately it's a scandal surrounding the game's biggest name, Shohei Ohtani. It involves gambling tied to baseball. The most shocking part of this whole story is that it involves Shohei Ohtani of all people. MLB opens an investigation into Shohei Ohtani interpreter allegations. This story can get ugly. I think it's far from over. We will definitely learn more in the coming days. I surely didn't see this coming. I don't think any of us did. It shocks the hell out of me that a story broke about Shohei Ohtani having $45 million of his money wind up in the hands of a Southern California bookmaking operation that's under federal investigation. It's a scandal that has rocked baseball this week. We demand answers because all this looks fishy. And I've said that in my last video when I talked about this. It's just something that's weird about this story. There are many unanswered questions. It's a story of a two-way player and an interpreter who many seem to believe is taking the fall for Ohtani. There's not much I can really say about this story because there are not enough facts. We haven't gathered all the facts to this story. So I can reserve judgment, but I will say what I said in my other two videos about this is that something doesn't add up. There's more to this story. I'm wondering if Ohtani was gambling. I hope that's not true. I hope he's not involved. What if this is a cover-up to deflect blame, from Ohtani? I'm not accusing him of anything, but these are questions worth asking. Ohtani seems like a genuinely nice guy who just wants to play baseball. And as we know, the report came out, I believe it was Saturday or Friday, one of those days. The Dodgers fired Ohtani's interpreter amid a massive theft. That's what they're describing it as. The deal is this. The interpreter first came out and spoke with ESPN in a 90-minute phone interview allegedly arranged by Ohtani's interpreter. And the Ohtani camp let the interpreter address the media. So a slew of reporters got to sit down with the interpreter. And at the time, the interpreter asserted that Ohtani was being a great friend, sending wire transfers from his account to cover $4.5 million in debts owed to a Southern California bookmaking operation. In that interview, the interpreter takes full ownership of losing about $5 million by wagering. Then he goes on to say in this interview that he never wagered on baseball and that he did know that it was illegal in the state of California. The story at first makes Ohtani look like this innocent guy, right? Such a genuine friend. He looks like the best friend anyone can have, right? The nicest friend a guy could have because he writes the checks to cover his friend's ass. Okay, then the story flips and suddenly Ohtani becomes a victim of a $5 million fraudulent scheme, embezzlement, whatever you want to call it. And now what happens is that the interpreter, who Ohtani is good friends with, you're now putting that guy out on criminal charges, on federal charges of wire fraud, embezzlement, and theft. So this kind of stuff tests the friendship, right? Now we're going to see how real of a friend he is. So now we're going to find out how good of friends they are, because now he's the subject of a criminal investigation by IRS and is going to get paid to keep his mouth shut and potentially do federal prison time. Of course, once this all came to light, that the money came from Ohtani's bank account, it was characterized as theft. I find it funny how quickly this story took a turn. If we are to believe his friend's actions blinded him, then apparently the interpreter wasn't this good friend. This story has many holes. It's Swiss cheese. A lot to unpack with this story. This story has changed every day. It has changed by the second, by the minute, by the hour. And until we can confirm this, I'm going to be careful what I say. Because again, we don't have enough facts. And even though Ohtani is already convicted in the court of public opinion, I'm going to reserve judgment. I don't think it's responsible or fair, to be quite frank, to jump to a conclusion, to say that he's guilty, to say that he was gambling and doing all this other stuff, to say that this was a cover-up. I mean, there's a lot of layers to the story. There's a lot behind it. But what I will say is I do believe there is a lot more to it than we know right now. I'm sure we'll learn more when Ohtani speaks to the media on Monday. Again, this is confusing. There is so much confusion. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the entire thing. The timing of this story, right after the Dodgers beat the Padres and less than a week before opening day. Look, I don't have a problem with gambling. Gambling does not outrage me. It's legal in 40 states. I personally don't gamble. I never been into gambling. I've never been interested in it. I don't bet. I don't do any of that. Sports betting is illegal in California, which I don't understand when it's acceptable in other states. But if Ohtani did send the payments to this bookmaker, even unknowingly, he could be in trouble with the federal government. Players are team personnel are forbidden from placing bets on baseball, even legally. It states that in the collective bargaining agreement. Now, they can legally bet on other sports. That's perfectly fine if done legally. Ohtani's interpreter says he only bet on the NBA, NFL, and NCAA basketball, not baseball. Allegedly, the interpreter's employment gave him access to inside baseball information that could potentially be used to place favorable bets. That's why I think people are led to believe that Ohtani had something to do with this. I think why people are questioning everything now is because the story was changed from Ohtani helping out his friend and paying his gambling debts to money suddenly being stolen. This leads to us believing other things. This leads to bigger yet still unanswered questions. This is by far the biggest scandal of the year. You think about high-profile scandals involving public figures, and we've seen athletes fall from grace. We've seen athletes fall from grace behind shocking events like this. Now, thanks to this alleged gambling scheme, depending on what we find out once the investigation is completed, it's a scandal that could end Shohei Ohtani's career. What does this scandal do to his legacy, whether he's cleared or not? Look, at this point, only so much is known since this is under investigation. The league will no doubt look into whether Ohtani placed any bets himself. Look, this story is so wild, I don't even know what more I can really say. I know baseball takes gambling very seriously. I know they have zero tolerance for gambling. We are starting to see problems with the fact that athletes are gambling. It does have an impact on the game. Much of what we've talked about feels strange to me. I mean, I still, again, I don't really know what to add to this story. Something is just not adding up. I can't say I fear the worst is about to happen, but this isn't good, and it doesn't look good. I only hope Shohei Ohtani wasn't involved, because if it comes out that he was, I don't know if he'll ever be viewed or regarded as this two-way superstar, and his legacy would be forever scarred with a scandal. And when you think of scandals, you go back in history, the Black Sox scandal, a game-fixing scandal in which 8 members of the Chicago White Sox were accused of losing in the World Series in 1919 on purpose in exchange for money. So this has been happening for years. This has been something that has gone on for years in sports. Gambling. Pete Rose, he was banned for life from baseball in 1989 following an investigation that he gambled on baseball games. So this has been happening for a very long time. Guess we'll now learn more in time about this story as MLB investigates this matter. We will eventually know more about this. The more I think about it, the more shocked I am. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate the love and support. If you guys haven't subscribed to this channel already, please hit the subscribe button. We'll talk very soon.